4:32 a.m., 13 nautical miles east of the Strait of Hormuz. 12 PACAP 3rd fast attack craft, bristling with Kausar anti-ship missiles, close the noose on the South Korean tanker MT Hankuk Chemi. This is not a random maritime inspection. It is kinetic blackmail. By seizing a vital vessel in the world's most sensitive oil choke point, Tehran is using asymmetric force to hold global trade hostage, demanding the release of $7 billion in frozen assets. Iran believes they have simply locked a neighbor's door to demand a ransom. They are mistaken. The Pentagon isn't looking for a key. They are deploying an AI sledgehammer to vaporize the hinges, the door, and the entire wall. As the South Korean tanker is seized, the destroyers USS Truxtun and USS Mason enter the Strait of Hormuz at Condition 1, the highest state of combat readiness. On the masts, the AN/SPY-1D radar arrays cease their rhythmic circular scanning. Instead, they enter burn-through mode, focusing high-energy electromagnetic pulses into specific sectors of the horizon. However, the IRGC proves they are far from amateurs. They do not utilize static launch sites that are easily mapped by satellites. Instead, they activate mobile, truck-mounted launchers hidden deep within the jagged limestone caverns of the Iranian coastline near Bandar Abbas. From a sensor perspective, locating these launchers among the thermal noise of the desert and the radar-reflective crags of the mountains is like trying to isolate the whisper of a single assassin in a stadium filled with 60,000 screaming fans. Inside the CIC of the USS Mason, the silence is shattered as the Aegis displays suddenly bloom with 32 simultaneous contacts. Iran has launched a swarm of low-cost decoy drones. These phantoms are not designed to impact the ship. Their sole purpose is to dump trash into the system's tracking buffer. The USS Mason's central processors are suddenly forced into a state of computational exhaustion. At this moment, the ship's computer acts like a supermarket cashier, overwhelmed by a flash mob on Black Friday. While the system is preoccupied with a mob of fake customers, the real killer, a Noor anti-ship cruise missile, is slipping through the back exit with a blade in hand. The Noor missile is a masterclass in asymmetric engineering. It does not fly high where it can be easily silhouetted against the sky. It maintains a terminal altitude of just 5 meters above the water. By hugging the surface, the missile utilizes a phenomenon known as sea clutter. It hides within the chaotic radar returns of 1-meter waves, masking its signature until the very last second. When the Noor finally breaks electromagnetic silence and reveals its true heading, it is less than 4 nautical miles from the USS Mason. The fleet's reaction window is instantly compressed to exactly 12 seconds. The response is not just digital, it is visceral. The captain of the Mason does not wait for the automated systems to solve the math. He commands, full power, hard port. 4 gas turbines dump maximum torque into the propeller shafts. The 9,000-ton destroyer heels 30 degrees to its side, a violent maneuver designed to shift the ship's geometric profile and force the missile's seeker to recalculate its solution. Simultaneously, the Phalanx CIWS, the last-ditch defense, engages. It vomits subcaliber tungsten alloy penetrators at a rate of 4,500 per minute, creating a literal wall of density in the air. The Noor missile is intercepted and vaporized exactly 400 meters from the hull. It is the equivalent of catching a falling crystal glass an inch before it hits the floor. The glass survives, but the water splashing onto your clothes is a jarring reminder of how close you came to losing everything. The engagement ends in a heartbeat, but the physical evidence lingers. The thermal energy from the explosion licks the paint on the Mason's starboard side. Inside the CIC, the air is thick with the roar of cooling fans struggling to stabilize the hardware and the sharp, metallic scent of ozone from overloaded electronics. The U.S. Navy does not wait for a second Iranian volley. Immediately following the Noor interception, a new silhouette appears above the strait. From the pressure launch tubes of the destroyers and the autonomous decks of Task Force 59's unmanned surface vessels, thousands of micro-drones are catapulted into the air. These are not piloted in the traditional sense. They expand across the horizon like an electronic mist, self-organizing into an AI hive. This network creates a persistent sensor grid covering hundreds of square miles, turning the open ocean into a transparent tactical map. This deployment is like a supervisor dumping a bucket of high-potency detergent onto a grime-streaked floor. You don't need to know exactly where every stain is hidden. The soap is designed to find the dirt, surround it, and chemically strip it from the surface automatically. The IRGC attempts to counter this by employing asymmetric cloaking. The PACAP fast attack craft weave between massive civilian oil tankers and small fishing trawlers, attempting to use innocent crews as human shields. They bet on the fog of war and the hesitation of human operators to provide them cover. However, the Hive mind is not restricted by human optical limitations. Each drone in the swarm utilizes multispectral sensors to scan for the unseen. They ignore the wooden hulls of fishing boats and focus exclusively on the specific thermal signature of high RPM Iranian diesel engines. Once a target is verified and locked, the process of elimination is stripped of human latency. The kill decision does not travel back to a command center in Washington, nor does it wait for the thumb of a fatigued officer. The entire cycle, from initial detection to the moment a Switchblade 600 loitering munition slams into an enemy cockpit, takes exactly 0.1 seconds. This is no longer a naval engagement or a gunfight. It is a high-speed supermarket checkout. While a human cashier representing a traditional pilot would struggle to find and scan a single barcode, the American AI system has already scanned, processed, and cleared thousands of items off the shelves before the first shopping bag can even be opened. The final pillar of this purge is the solution to the oldest problem in warfare: logistics. While the kinetic battle rages, a secondary swarm of Malloy T-150 heavy-lift drones moves silently between the logistics ships and the active front line. These autonomous couriers operate in a constant loop, ferrying fresh batteries, loitering munitions, and interceptor components directly onto the decks of the combat vessels. Even as those decks shudder from the vibration of outgoing fire, through this automated air bridge, the U.S. Navy has effectively solved the problem of magazine depth. The USS Mason is no longer a ship with a finite supply of ammunition. It has become an infinite well of fire. This logistical loop functions like a professional gamer who has activated an infinite ammo cheat code. While the Iranian forces must carefully ration every precious missile and bullet, the American fleet is expending munitions with the absolute confidence of a billionaire who never has to look at the bill. As the electronic cloud of drones settles, the atmosphere over the Strait of Hormuz is suddenly torn apart by a sound that defies the natural order of the sea. It is the guttural, rhythmic roar of General Electric TF-34 engines, signaling the arrival of a flight of A-10C Thunderbolt IIs. To the IRGC forces remaining on the water, the sound of the A-10's GAU-8 cannon is not a sequence of gunshots. It is the terrifying drone of a massive industrial chainsaw ripping through timber at a frantic pace. They realize in an instant that they are no longer engaging a standard fighter jet. They are facing a steamroller operating at the speed of sound, designed for one purpose: the total physical deconstruction of the target. This phase of the engagement is a masterclass in military economics. A single Hellfire missile carries a price tag of $150,000. In contrast, an Iranian PACAP craft is little more than a fiberglass hull strapped to a commercial engine. Utilizing a precision missile against such a target would be a massive accounting failure. Instead, the A-10 pilots flip their selector switches to the GAU-8 Avenger. This 7-barrel cannon, the size of a small car, is loaded with 30mm depleted uranium rounds. The United States is no longer conducting a tactical strike. It is performing a liquidation of assets. Rather than relying on delicate tools, they have brought an industrial high-pressure washer to strip the most stubborn stains off the ocean floor. As the Warthogs enter their attack dives, the stream of uranium rounds traveling at a rate of 3,900 per minute touches the water's surface. These PACAP boats do not explode with the cinematic flare seen in movies. Under the sheer weight of kinetic pressure, the Iranian fiberglass hulls are shredded at a molecular level. As the uranium rounds penetrate the thin shells and impact the seawater inside, they trigger violent hydraulic explosions within the engine compartments. The IRGC craft are simply dissolved into the surf, looking exactly like a sandcastle hit by a direct blast from a fire hose. In less than 4 seconds of sustained fire, a war machine that once represented the pride of Tehran's asymmetric doctrine is reduced to a floating mixture of industrial scrap and burning oil. The final 6 Iranian fast attack craft disappear from the radar screens in less than 10 minutes. There are no radio responses from the Iranian side, only the crackle of static. The A-10 flight lead transmits a brief, dry report back to the carrier strike group. area cleaned. The entire process is as efficient and definitive as a user clicking the empty trash button on a computer screen. The PK app boats, which were once the centerpiece of a strategy designed to hold the world hostage, are now nothing more than corrupted bytes of data that have been permanently deleted from the Gulf's operating system. The kinetic blackmail has been answered not with a ransom, but with a total clearing of the ledger. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively virus scanned by the AI Hive and the A-10S, the Pentagon recognizes a fundamental truth. Opening the gates is not enough. If the regime's economic lifeblood oil continues to circulate, the PACAP swarms will be replenished within months. The focus narrows to a single geographic choke point, Kharg Island. This 20-square-kilometer limestone outcrop handles 90% of Iran's oil exports. It is the heart of the machine. In the logic of modern warfare, Kharg Island is not viewed as a traditional military base. It is the master power plug for the entire regime. The United States does not intend to dismantle the house brick by brick. They are simply going to pull this plug from the wall. The transition to ground kinetics begins as LCAC hovercrafts surge from the well decks of the USS Tripoli, slamming onto the western beaches of the island. There is no room for prolonged skirmishes or diplomatic hesitation. The ground begins to vibrate with a specific frequency as 70-ton M1A2 Abrams tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles roll onto the asphalt. This mechanical vibration is a message that requires no translation. Deploying armor on Kharg's export terminals is like placing a 1-ton paperweight on top of a signed check. The owner can still see their asset, but they no longer have the physical capacity to move or spend it. The presence of the Abrams turns the island's infrastructure into a hostage of geography. The final phase of this takeover is defined by technical paralysis rather than physical destruction. Navy SEALs and Army engineers secure the SCADA control centers, the digital brains that manage the island's vast network of pumps and pipelines. There is a deliberate decision to avoid using explosives, as destroying the facility would invite an environmental and economic catastrophe that serves no one. Instead, they implement a strategy of technical paralysis, applying physical locks to the master valves while simultaneously rewriting the system's source code. This is a total unplugging of the regional infrastructure. This move is the strategic equivalent of cutting the Wi-Fi in a house full of rebellious teenagers. You do not need to break down every bedroom door to restore order. You only need to disable the router. By seizing the digital and physical passwords to the oil spigots, the United States has rendered the regime's primary source of leverage inert. Without the flow of data, or in this case, oil, any further resistance from the mainland becomes mathematically irrelevant. The engine of the regime has not been destroyed. It has simply been unplugged, and the key is now in the hands of the Pentagon. Now, if you want to continue following the strategic strikes of Operation Epic Fury, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Goodbye.